When we talk about girls, there are certain things you must do, and there are other things you should avoid. Since we started this series, I've been telling you what you should do. But even if you're as charming as Brad Pitt, if you make the mistakes I'm going to tell you about in this video, you'll never get to see that girl again. Let me tell you a story to explain it clearly. A young man was sitting in a park when he noticed a very attractive young woman reading a book on a nearby bench. The moment he saw her, he thought to himself, "I should go over and talk to her." However, when he actually considered approaching her, negative thoughts began to fill his mind, causing him to hesitate. He froze, and before he could do anything, the young woman closed her book and walked away. He sat there, frustrated and angry at himself for missing the opportunity. But he wasn't ready to give up just yet. After some thought, he realized that she seemed to visit the park regularly. Determined to speak to her, he made up his mind to return the next day and approach her. The next day, as expected, he saw her again in the same spot. But just like before, when it came time to make a move, he found himself paralyzed with fear. He stood there, staring at her from a distance, unable to take a step forward. This pattern repeated itself for several days. Each time he would tell himself that today would be the day, but each time he ended up frozen in place, watching as she eventually left. Finally, after about a week, he managed to push himself to walk up to her. Nervously, he approached the bench where she was sitting, pretending to be interested in the book she was reading. He fumbled for words and awkwardly asked, "Is that book any good?" The young woman looked up, smiled politely and said, "Yes, it's one of my favorites." Encouraged by her response, he tried to keep the conversation going, but his nervousness made it difficult. He could barely string together a coherent sentence, and after a few uncomfortable minutes, she politely excused herself and left. Despite the awkwardness, he was encouraged by the fact that she didn't immediately dismiss him, so he returned to the park the next day, hoping to build on their previous conversation. But each time he tried to engage her, his anxiety got the better of him. The conversations remained short and stilted, with him struggling to keep her interest. Nevertheless, he kept returning to the park, desperate for another chance to impress her. After many days of constant effort, he finally managed to persuade the young woman to go out on a date with him. However, what followed was a complete disaster. They went out a couple of times, but by this point, the young man had become increasingly attached to her. His feelings grew deeper, and so did his insecurity. Now, instead of just visiting the park once, he found himself going there several times a day, hoping to see her. His thoughts became consumed with whether or not she liked him, and his emotions swung wildly depending on how much attention she paid him that day. Eventually, feeling overwhelmed by his own confusion, he decided that the only way to resolve his feelings was to confess them. One afternoon, after yet another brief and awkward conversation, he blurted out, "I really like you, and I'd love to take you out sometime." The young woman seemed surprised, but after a moment she responded, "I'm flattered, but I really just see you as a friend. I don't want to ruin that." Her response left him feeling even more confused and disheartened. He thought that maybe he hadn't tried hard enough, so he continued to pursue her. But every time he brought up the idea of going out, she gently but firmly turned him down, insisting that she valued their friendship. As the days passed, she started to distance herself. She began spending less time in the park, and when she did come, she seemed preoccupied, no longer engaging in their brief conversations. One day, he decided to call her and ask why they weren't talking as much. When he brought it up, she told him that she had been really busy and had a lot going on, but that they could catch up another time. However, that time never seemed to come. So where did this young man go wrong? If you analyze the situation closely, you'll see that he demonstrated several traits of a low-value male, which ultimately sabotaged his chances with the young woman. Here are some of the mistakes he made. Number 1, he put the young woman on a pedestal simply because of her looks. High-value males never give a girl too much importance, only because she is good-looking. This is the most important attitude you must cultivate into your personality at all costs. Never show a woman that you consider her to be too good-looking. Let her know that you don't really go by looks, but by personality, because good looks are easy to find, but personality is a rare trait. The moment you act this way around them, you will instantly be awarded with the tag known as that special different guy, and this is what most women are looking for in a potential mate. Number 2. He agreed with her way too much to keep her comfortable. This is just another horrible idea that society has hammered into the male brain. Kissing up to a woman does not mean she is going to like you. By agreeing with her on everything, you will just give off a very weak vibe, which will make her feel that you're trying to seek her approval or permission. If you always play by her rules and agree with everything she says, you are indirectly communicating that you don't know how to get the recognition you deserve from her. Therefore, you are scared that this agreement might work against you, and you are also displaying that you don't consider yourself to be good enough, which makes you fear losing her. In fact, this is something we see all over the place. Some average guy manages to initiate a conversation with a hot girl. Millions of thoughts start running through his mind. He starts fearing that he should choose the right words, or he might screw it all up. When he can't come up with anything to talk about, his fears increase, and he starts asking boring questions like, "What do you do for a living?" etc. He thinks, whatever she says, I'll just agree with it so that I don't make her mad. I don't want to come across as rude. After a few minutes, the girl thinks, this is so boring. How do I get out of this? She makes some lame excuse like, I need to excuse myself to the washroom, and she leaves and never returns. Therefore, as you can see, it can be pretty scary when you don't know what's going to happen next. And this is the fear that makes a lot of guys believe in the theory that women hate men who disagree with them. Women want a challenge, and you will never be a challenge if you agree with them on everything. Number 3. He desperately sought after the young lady's approval and acceptance. This attitude only added fuel to his level of insecurity and pushed the girl away. A high-value male never seeks a girl's approval or acceptance. The moment a girl realizes that you are seeking her approval, she would be turned off within seconds. Always remember that attraction isn't something she has control over. Seeking approval is a strong attraction killer, and she would never show any real interest in you as long as you seek her approval. And there's a way to avoid this problem. Don't talk too much. I always tell you this because it's very important. From my experience, when someone talks to a girl and ends up being the one doing most of the talking, he starts focusing on himself and tries to convince her that he's the best man she can get. This is something that happens automatically without you even realizing it. That's why you should let her do most of the talking and always make the conversation about her. Try to make her the center of the discussion and take yourself out of the equation. This way, you'll avoid the problem of seeking her approval. Number 4. He made it clear to her that he wanted her from the beginning. This is a very important idea because I always see guys making this mistake. You must make sure that you don't tell the girl how you feel about her too early on, and you should not be the first one to say, "I love you." The reason is that the moment you share your true feelings too early in the relationship, she tends to go through a strange process where she feels like she has conquered you and thinks, okay, I have him now. What? So the tension and attraction you've built by demonstrating all the traits of a high-value male get killed. Now you aren't too hard to get anymore, and since we have already discussed that females can't control who they are or aren't attracted to, They will not be able to feel attracted towards you after they know you are into them. The only way to deal with this is to keep them confused and insecure, which means you must never tell a female whether you're into her or not. Therefore, as long as she has to guess what's going on in your mind, the attraction will always be present. Number 5. Another mistake that guys make is trying to solve the girl's problems. Brother, this is the quickest way to end up in the friend zone. This is known to be, by far, the biggest mistake most guys make when it comes to dealing with women. You see, a woman doesn't want you to solve her problems as you might think. The moment you solve her problems, you instantly get placed into the provider zone, which also means you are like her big brother trying to take care of her. Listening to her problems is one thing, but solving them for her is another. When you solve her issues, you are doing the work for her, which again subcommunicates low value. Eventually, she would see you as someone she could turn to when in trouble or when she is having an emotional outburst, but she will never consider you as a potential lover. The way men view this and the way women view this are completely different. Men feel like real men when they come to her rescue, but in her world, you become just another nice guy trying to give a helping hand. Women don't discuss their issues with you seeking a solution. They just want you to hear them out. All they want from you is to be a good listener and nothing else. Trust me, women have ways to deal with their problems themselves, so don't try to solve them for her. Number 6. Don't act too disinterested. If you've watched this series from start to finish, or if you're someone learning the dynamics of pickup, you're probably doing something that a lot of guys do. They think it's important to act disinterested in the woman, but some of them don't really understand the difference between being disinterested and being rude. The way it should be done is to first show a bit of interest and then a bit of disinterest, but never complete disinterest. A lot of guys act so disinterested that it's almost like they are telling the girl to go away. A girl will never stay around you long if you just keep on showing disinterest. What it really means is that you have to show her that you are interested, but that doesn't mean you will chase her around for attention. The pattern should be one line that shows interest and another line that shows a bit of disinterest. For example, "You look cute in this dress, but pink would have been better." You see, this sentence involves interest and disinterest at the same time. By telling her that she looks cute in the dress, you have shown active interest, but by telling her that a pink dress would have been better, you have shown a slight hint of disinterest as well. Some guys do it the wrong way. For example, "This dress isn't looking good on you. You should have tried pink." Now, with this sentence, you have shown disinterest twice, and it will actually come across as highly rude because you just directly insulted her. Number 7. Never discuss your problems with women. A great way to kill all attraction is to discuss your issues or problems with women. You should be tough enough to deal with your problems yourself. Women want to see you overcome the problem instead of just discussing it with them. By sharing your problems with a woman, you indirectly tell her that you are not strong enough to deal with your own problems. Therefore, you either need her help or sympathy to make yourself feel better. Another thing is to never share your insecurities with the girl. Never tell her what you're bad at, how many failures you have had in the past, or how you still struggle with a lot of things in life. This only gives out a very dull impression, which is a direct attraction killer. By the way, sharing your weaknesses isn't necessarily an attraction killer, but there's one situation where you can mention your weaknesses. You have to be laughing when you say it. You need to be making fun of yourself in a humorous way, which shows that you don't care about her opinion. We can discuss this topic in one of the upcoming episodes of the series. Number 8. Never give a direct yes. Never be easy for a woman. A lot of guys are quick to fall into the yes circle, constantly saying yes, even when they might want to say no to certain requests. This is why you must make her work a little to get a yes response from you. For example, if she asks, "Let's go shopping today," you should respond by saying something like, "No, first we will watch a movie, and then shopping." You see, never be direct with a yes. Either set some conditions before agreeing, or let her request you more before you give in to a yes. An important point to note here is that this should only be done according to the situation. For example, if she is sick and says, "Please take me to a doctor," you shouldn't say, "Wait a couple of hours, honey, I'm watching football." Here, only do this with random requests, not important or urgent ones. Number 9. Never let her get you mad or upset. If you get mad or upset over a girl's actions, it's a clear sign that you are not in control, and she is the one who actually controls you. If her actions can make you react, then she is the one driving you. There might be times when a girl says some really nasty things to you, but you should never react by showing anger or losing your cool. Be like a rock in the storm and act as if nothing gets to you, no matter what. In most cases, a girl might just be trying to test you to see how you react in extreme situations. If you react the way she predicted, then you failed the test. And this is a very important topic that I will discuss in a separate video. By the way, do you still remember that story I told you before? That's an old story of mine, and that guy was me. So please, don't be like me.